Good morning viewers. In this video we are going to discuss about how to get admission to the hospital. I am K. Priyadashni, working as a lecturer in M College of Nursing. At the end of the section, the viewers are able to define admission to the hospital, list down the indication of admission to the hospital, and enlist the purposes of admission procedure, explain the types of admission, describe the preparation of the unit for the admission, enumerate the steps or nurse's responsibility in admission procedure, enlist the special consideration during admission, explain the medical legal issues related to admission. These are all the objectives of this video. First we will discuss about definition of admission procedure to the hospital. Admission of a patient means allowing and facilitating a patient to stay in a hospital unit or ward for observation, investigation and treatment of a disease he or she is suffering from. Indication of admission procedure. The therapeutic aspect for treatment of any acute and chronic diseases. For observation of the status of the client. For any diagnostic need for the client. For doing any surgical intervention on an emergency basis to save the life of the patient and for the condition requiring expect care. These are all the indication for admission procedure. Next we are going to discuss about purposes of admission. Why we need to do admission procedure? Because we want to welcome the patient. We provide immediate care to the patient, to provide comfort and safety to the patient, to receive the patient in a ward in a smoothful way, to be ready for any emergency, to assist the patient in adjusting to the hospital environment because it is very new for them, to obtain necessary information about the client, to involve the patient under the family care, to assist in proper discharge planning of care. Types of admission. Mainly it is divided into three types depending on planning and the time spent in the hospital and the purposes of admission. Based on depending on planning, it may be classified into two types, routine admission and emergency admission. Routine admission, in this, the clients are admitted for investigation and planned treatment or for the surgeries. Example, diabetes, hypertension, etc. And in emergency admission, the patients are admitted for acute and emergency condition which requires immediate treatment like burns, drowning, road accident, fall, heart attack, etc. Next one is depending on time spent in the hospital. Based on this, the admission classified into two types, that is long-term admission and the short-term admission. Long-term admission, in the patient stay in the hospital in long days, and in short-term admission the patient stay in the hospital in quite short days. Example, in case of surgeries or any acute conditions. Depending on purposes of admission, it may be classified into two types, diagnostic admission and therapeutic admission. The purpose is to find out the disease condition, that we call it as diagnostic admission, and therapeutic admission, in this the patient is getting treatment for that condition. So we call it as therapeutic admission. Preparation of the unit for admission. Before receiving the patient, the ward in charges, especially the nurse, should prepare the unit for admission. They prepare a clean and neat admission room with all necessary items as per the need of the patient. If the patient is in need of oxygen, the nurse should prepare or to provide Oxygen supply, the nurse should assemble all the articles needed for that. Prepare an appropriate type of bed with an adequate adjust the height of the bed. These are all the preparation of the unit for the admission. The responsibility of admission department before the patient entering into the ward, respective ward, the patient should finish the formalities in the admission department. What are all the responsibility of that admission department personnel? The responsibilities are gather the patient information like name, age, sex, address, mobile number, etc. and etc. and prepare medical record, prepare patient identification bracelet, and consent form. It should be signed by the client or the family members who is taking care of that patient. Initial orders obtained. What are all the initial orders the nurse should carry out? That initial orders prescribed by the physicians, and inform to the floor ward nurse that the patient is allotting for that particular ward, so that it is easy for the nurse to prepare the unit for the patient. Nurse's responsibility of admission procedure or steps involved in nursing admission procedure. Identify the self. Welcome the patient and his family with warm approach. Make the patient comfortable in bed and provide him with hospital clothes and ensure adequate privacy to the patients. It is very important for the patient to make comfortable. Alleviate the fear and anxiety for the patient, because the patient getting admission to the hospital for it may be a diagnostic purpose or it may be a therapeutic purpose. The patient is having much fear about condition. So it is important for the nurse to welcome in a comfortable way and to alleviate the fear of the patient. The next step is orient the patient to the hospital ward environment, the location of nurse station, room boundaries, and cloth storage room, call light, bed control, how to fold the bed, how to lift the bed control things, and light switches, which one is for fan, which one is for light, telephone policy, what is the number for dietary department, what is the number for in case of any emergency, and number for nurses station, that and all we should explain the patient. And TV control, how to operate the TV in hospital setup, all the things we should explain it very clearly. Continuation of this orientation, we should explain about meal times or what time the dietary department are providing food for the patient, what is the time for breakfast, what is the time for lunch and for the dinner, and what is the normal pattern when the dietitian will come for the rounds, and the visiting hours, what is the visiting hours, and how many people are allowed to see the patient, and what is the protocol for seeing the patients, explanation about the pass, visitors pass, and diet, what type of diet is advisable for the patient, and safety measures like side rails, why they are putting side rail, what is the purposes for the patient is in side rail, and time for doctor's visit, usually what time the doctor will come for rounds, so that the family members, the caretaker should be available at that time to discuss with the doctors about the patient conditions, and what are all the tests are scheduled for the patients. Next, big nurse's responsibility in admission procedure is the nurse should collect the information about the medical orders, what are all the doctor's prescription, anything that should be done immediately to the patients, and how to plan for that treatment regimen given by the doctors, and treatment informations, what is planned for the patients, that thing, and lab result, what are the investigation has done for the patient and what has to be done for the patient, and test report, what is the test report, if the patient already done the investigations, we have to see the inferences of lab values, right, and what is prescribed for the patients, whether it is needed to arrange the dietitians and activity, what may be the activity, whether the patient is allowed to go for a normal regular activity or the patient should maintain as bedridden patient. This and all the nurse should gather the information from the records brought by the patient. Next one, the important thing is charting. After getting all the information, we should record the things, record the all basic information in the patient record. And we should clearly mention the admission date and time patient, and at what time the patient entered into the hospital, the patient details, and compliance of the clients at the time of admission, any allergies, and what about the patient mental status during admissions. Record the admission, record in admission register, treatment book, report book, medical legal. In case of medical legal cases, we should register in medical legal case register book also. Update the ward census and nurses notes. Physical assessment, do some basic physical assessment and record the inferences in the nurses recorder. Patient comfort and how it is comfortable, whether the patient is fully comfortable with the hospital admission and the hospital environment, what about the patient condition that we have to enter in the nurses chart, collect all the information needed for the database. It is very important. The important things is perform the initial admission assessment, obtain the physician order for lab test, medical activity, identify the data, chief compliance, present history, past history, review of body system, all things we have to collect and we have to record in the patient chart. The next step is orient the patient to the hospital ward environment, the location of nurse station, room boundaries, and cloth storage room, call light, bed control, how to fold the bed, how to lift the bed control things, and light switches, which one is for fan, which one is for light, telephone policy, what is the number for dietary department, what is the number for in case of any emergency, and number for nurses station, that and all we should explain the patient, and TV control, how to operate the TV in hospital setup, all the thing we should explain it very clearly. The special consideration in my admission procedure. In critical condition, collect only the most pertinent information. If case of emergency admission, that time we should not follow all the regular admission process. In that case, collect only the most pertinent information for the patient. And a female client should never be left alone with the male attendant. All jewelry should be removed at the time of admission, and in case of medical legal cases should have the MLC, that means medical legal cases stamp and the notified MLC number in the case sheet, so that the health personnel should aware about the think that that patient is under medical legal cases, so that the patient will follow the steps what to do in medical legal cases. And in case of infant or small children, provide emotional support for both the child and the parents. Speak slowly and clearly when talking to the elderly client, because they may have hearing problems. So we have to speak slowly and clearly as well as loudly to the elderly patient. Medical legal cases. In case of medical, the patient is under medical legal issues. In that case, the physician must be informed immediately on the arrival of the patient to the OPD. OPD means outpatient department. The patient's records must be kept under lock and key. It has many legal values, and patient belongings should be kept under custody as per the hospital policy. A written consent must be taken from the patient or the relatives. It is compulsory for the nurse to provide information to the police officer. Till now, we discussed about the definition for admission and what is the indication, purposes, types of admission, how to prepare the unit for admission procedure, what are all the responsibility of admission department and the steps or nurse's responsibility involved in admission procedure, and what is the psychosocial response of the patient while doing admission procedure, and special consideration medical legal issues involved in admission procedure. So it is very clear for you how to do admission procedure for the patient in the hospital. um, oh, Thank you for your support, for watching this video. Thank you, viewers.